How about that?
Whoa.
Well,
I said it. One guy. That's all you need. And he,
that's right. One supporter.
yeah.
Yeah. Making allies. And, I mean, that's good. He made an impression. And that's what Chris Jones does, right? He makes an impression and he has success. And I'm interested to see how that turns out. Does he stay in a similar capacity? And I mean, it'll depend on what they do and who they put in place in terms of coaching and all that stuff. But that's cool.
It's a very interesting situation in Cleveland because it's almost like the Montreal Alouettes, where they're hiring in a different order than normal.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, as a head coach, going to be a guy that's going to be able to choose guys who are on his staff, or is Chris Jones going to be, not fast track, but is he going to be, we need this guy? And you could easily see that, on the defensive side of the football. You could see how a positive, influence he was on their defense. So it'd be interesting to see.
I'm so unbelievably grateful for the 3 years to have spent around Chris Jones and to have had several one-on-one chats. The first year, right off, didn't know me, so he wasn't talking. Mm-hmm. Year 2 and 3, we talked a lot as we got to know each other. And I'm like you can see why the people in the facility would like the guy. He's charming. He's smart. He works hard. He's the first one in. He's the last one out. Like the people, what you see isn't always what you get. How many times have I told you that?
Yeah.
What you see out here is very rarely what's actually going on. And with Chris Jones, people see the gruff. And I understand in Saskatchewan, they'll probably never welcome him back. And I go back to that dinner that I did, every dinner that I do. But in particular, this one in, when was it? Paradise Hill, the one with Rachel Holman and the Sutters.
Yeah.
This lady in the front row that I actually sat at her table, she goes, I'll never forgive Chris Jones for what he did to my Weston. And I'm like, well, if that's what you're judging him on, where he did the best thing that he believed for the football program, which he's always going to do, then you're never going to convince somebody like that. Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean he doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know Weston Dressler. Doesn't make him a bad guy because he cut him. We're talking about a football guy, football acumen who knows what he's doing. Does not surprise me that the Cleveland Browns would say, we can't let this guy go. Oh, and by the way, my bet's looking not bad with Marshall Hamilton that Chris Jones is going to be a head coach in the NFL within 5 to 7 years.
Yeah.
What does this tell you?
Yeah, I don't know about that. But
he's on the way.
A lot of things have to happen, obviously, for that. But the big thing is for him to go and be the defensive coordinator. Chris Jones.
Sure.
Chris Jones. I mean, there's a lot there with Chris Jones. There's baggage, but the big thing about Chris Jones is he is so good on defense, and all the ideas that he brought into this league. I mean, his defense almost got them to the Grey Cup. Because they sure didn't have the offense that year, but twice, that defense was just incredible. And how he would go, I remember talking to one of the staff members, and they would go to their free agent camps, and he would easily put a receiver on the other side of the ball.
Oh,
because he had
saw it a ton of times.
Yeah, exactly. Because look at that athlete. That athlete can go over there, and you can be a pretty darn good guy. Doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a DB and you're going to be catching. You could be rushing the passer or whatever. I mean, he was innovative and a very, very good defensive man. And that's what they want in the NFL is a guy like that. Now, just because you're a good defensive coordinator doesn't mean you're going to be a good head coach. So that's been proven a lot. But you never know. And again, one guy has to give him an opportunity. So as far as being a head coach in the NFL.
And who's the guy with the Browns he's talking about? Batista?
Batista, yeah.
I see his name. You don't ever see him doing interviews or anything, but I read about him. What are you looking at there?
Well, I was surprised that they got rid of John Dorsey. Because John Dorsey was a darn good guy with regards to the football.
He's improved the team since he's been there.
Absolutely. And then they get rid of him. But I guess the Batista was on the other side. And I'm not exactly sure what his role is, but Cleveland Browns are a different organization.
See, we'd have to look that up. But it's again, that's why I hope it's why you're so valuable to this program. People learn a few things as we go. For instance, somebody would say, why would you even want to be with the Cleveland Browns? What did we say the other day? The thing is, why would you want to be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys? They're saying it's the most coveted coaching job in sports. Well, look, you're working for an owner that's got control issues and the pressure's immense, blah, blah, blah. Every coach is dying to be in there. Coaches are dying to be in Cleveland.
Just
it's an NFL job.
Nick said it yesterday. You ever walk into their facilities in Frisco, Texas? Oh, my God. And that stadium that they play in?
The Star.
Oh, my God.
Practice facility.
Incredible.
Yeah, and Cleveland, too. I mean, Cleveland has one of the most passionate fan bases in the NFL.
It's crazy.
They're rabid, and it's a community that I don't know a lot about, but what I understand is that it's very much like here. It's get your lunch pail, get your hard hat on, you go to work.
Blue collar.
It's blue collar.
Big time. I scouted their training camp so many times. You know, their training camp facility, it is packed, just packed with people. You know, you're kind of in their way. Hey, can you move? You know, because you're in their way. I mean, it's amazing. And then you go to the stadium. They're just crazy about their Cleveland Browns. I mean, and it's a great city. You know, Cleveland gets a bad rap, but there's, of course, I haven't been there in the winter because I usually, doing the training camps in the summer. So, but Cleveland's pretty neat. It's neat. And if somebody gave me an opportunity to be there with the Cleveland Browns, I'd be there in a second.
That's what they have.
I wouldn't. Hey, it's the NFL.
Isn't it? Yeah, exactly. But isn't it funny, by the way, that Justin just knew we were going to ask?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So we dug that tidbit up. We got to give 3downnation.com the credit for that.
Yeah.
But as we sit here today, it looks like Chris Jones may stay in the National Football League with the Cleveland Browns. Isn't that something? Well, have we tweeted that yet? Wow, that's the interesting thing with Chris Jones. Similar to Nick Lewis, we were talking about this when he left the building yesterday after the show. How intimidating Nick Lewis is.
I know.
Chris Jones is intimidating too.
You know, I met a couple of years ago. The CFL evaluation camp was here, and we all went for a drink at the Regina Inn, and we were down there, and Nick came in. And I went up and I introduced myself, and I told him, you know what, I couldn't stand you. You beat us in overtime. You scored the touchdown to tie, and then you scored the touchdown to win. Do you remember that game?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, and I told him that, and he was as nice as you. I mean, it was incredible how great of a guy he was to me at that time. You know, and such a talent.
Well, I've been thinking about this a lot over the last while. You know, we had Ben Cahoon on Friday, and viewers were writing in saying how much they hated him when he was with the Alouettes. Well, how do you hate Ben Cahoon? He's a good Mormon boy.
Yeah, but
he was just doing his job.
But that's like everybody hated Bobby Orr because he was the best. Everybody hates McDavid unless you're an Edmonton Oilers fan. I mean, it's just the way it is.
How could you hate Connor McDavid? What does he do?
Because he scores against your team, for God's sake.
Oh, sorry, right, doing his job. As a matter of fact,
but that's the thing.
I know a lot of our viewers on Facebook are a little older than those that are watching our clips on Instagram and so forth. But the name Tony Gabriel, does it mean anything to you folks? I know it does to you, Paul. I was doing a dinner in Moose Jaw with John Lynch, Tony Gabriel. Who the heck else was with? Doesn't matter. We pulled Tony Gabriel aside after. Was it Burris? Who was that? Can't remember. It was Gabriel anyways. And Lynch was like, I hated you and I still hate you. The 1976 Grey Cup, you ruined it for the Rough Riders. And Tony's like, I was just doing my job. How do you hate somebody for doing their job? Which, by the way, I will never, ever, ever forget. That night at the Moose Jaw Kinsman Center, half the speakers in the building, listen up, Paul, you would never allow this to happen. Half the speakers just died just before the dinner. So half the room couldn't hear anything.
Oh.
As it was, the dinner went long. The average age was 85. So when I wrapped up the dinner at about 11:30, it was a race to the door of...
Oh, jeez.
Oh, yeah, walkers, canes. Oh, it was Moose Jaw. But what I came away with was Tony Gabriel saying, I was just doing my job. That's same thing with Nick Lewis. He came in here the very first day, and he's like, you remember that. He's like, Rod, you're going to love me by the time this is done. I said, I already do love you. What are you talking about? Well, the things you said about me back in the day. I was just doing my job. Stirring things up. See you, Paul. See you, Paul.
Bye.
We turn chicken salad into lemonade every day here. Wayne in Victoria's written in and says, Rod, you do a great impression of Chris Jones. Well, when you're together every day for 3 years.
Yeah.
And people say that I'm starting to sound like you. It's the same thing.
Which is what? Seriously?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you a little secret. There's few things about my old job that I miss, but one is going to those Florida camps, Smitty, because they're just so awesome. We were together at quite a few.
Oh.
I would do this at a Hooters on the Gulf of Mexico. What's better? But Luke and I sometimes would just jump in a car and drive up and down that coast, whether it be the Gulf Coast or the Atlantic Coast, and we would sit and do Chris Jones imitations for hours. just driving, because there's so much to see.
Now, you guys-
I remember the one camp, there was 10 quarterbacks there. I know, we'll take a break right away. There's 10 quarterbacks there. I don't think Luke will mind. He goes, well, don't know why we got 10 quarterbacks. We're just going to back up Darian anyways. Stuff like this for hours. What are you going to say, sir?
Well, they went on to the other side of the Florida.
Vero Beach, yeah.
Vero Beach for doing that. I would imagine that would have been pretty good too.
It was all great. It was.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's what I miss. There was one time we landed in Tampa Bay, grabbed our rental car, drove straight to Golden Corral.
Yeah.
Didn't even check in at the hotel.
Was that in Bradenton?
Well, we drove for whatever reason down to Sarasota, which was a
Okay.
bit of a hike, but it was worth it.
Yeah.
Luke threw a towel over his shoulder. You saw that Instagram story just because he was sweating so much from Golden Corral. Anyways, we have to break. Joey Alfieri coming up. You're watching The Rod Pedersen Show, episode 150 on Facebook Live, and listen live at rodpedersen.com.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.